time, Agrippina the Younger's interpretation has changed significantly. From negative ancient written text to positive modern interpretation and archaeological sources, the view of Agrippina differs across all modern writers, but for the most part, their writing reflects a pragmatic and positive view. Archaeological sources such as statues and coins provide a different perspective into the life of Agrippina. Not only do they showcase what Agrippina looks like in full, but they also provide evidence into the positions she held. The coin of Agrippina, Livia, Drusilla, and Caligula showcases the relationships in her family. However, this coin, like all others, was made for the eye of the public, therefore meaning it is most likely exaggerated and fake, made to gain respect and promote an ideal emperor who cares for his family. The statue of Agrippina, Claudius, and suggestively the Senate, or a representation of the Roman public on the right, represents the extent of Agrippina's position around the time when she was married to Claudius, which is shown through the holding of hands. Agrippina's left hand is holding wheat, which represents fertility, showing that she is trustworthy and will provide for Rome. The statue of Agrippina and Nero provides an insight into the relationship they held, as shown through Agrippina's right hand crowning Nero, which was the Pope's job, as they were seen to have the power and authority to crown and anoint new emperors. This statue clearly shows that Agrippina holds the power and authority to label her son as the new emperor of Rome. Agrippina's left hand is holding a cornucopia, which represents abundance and nourishment, showing her wealth and power to the public as propaganda to promote herself. However, we don't know if she had a say in the making of this statue, as we don't know who made it and when. Another representation of Agrippina is to do with her beauty, which is shown through the lack of clothing. Therefore, the representation of Agrippina in these archaeological sources represents Agrippina as powerful, influential, fertile, resourceful, and beautiful. And seeing as these archaeological sources were made purely for the eye of the public, means they were made to exaggerate a highly positive and biased view. Therefore, understanding Agrippina through archaeological sources is not reliable in understanding Agrippina's character, but it is reliable understanding her position in each period in time. Ancient writers such as Dio Cassius, Suetonius, and Tacitus all write about Agrippina in a similar way. They each seem to target her abnormal behaviour and her need for power in a negative light. Dio Cassius describes Agrippina's controlling nature in his writings. He says, "She gained complete control over Claudius. Indeed, she was very clever in making the most of opportunities, and partly by fear, partly by favours, she won the devotion of all those who were at all friendly toward him." Another spot in Cassius' writing says, "Claudius had become such a slave to his wives that on their account he killed both of his sons-in-laws." This just shows the extent of how Agrippina gained and held complete power and influence over Claudius. Suetonius says that Agrippina would chase success, and to get Nero into the position of emperorship was suggestively what drove her for most of her decisions. He says, "While Nero was being advanced, Britannicus received neither honour nor care. On the contrary, Agrippina removed or even put to death those who were devoted to him." This just provides evidence of the extent to which Agrippina would go to ensure her son's position, which represents Agrippina as a power-hungry savage. Tacitus writes about Agrippina in a negative light that portrays her as disgraceful and different. He writes, "Agrippina showed a serious, often arrogant face. In private, there was no sign of immorality unless it helped her in her search for power. She had an enormous desire for money, which was excused with the reason that money was a means to power." Therefore, the ancient written sources focus on the negative and immoral parts of Agrippina's life, things that weren't acceptable at the time. The modern representations of Agrippina are all similar. They're either heavily focused on positive aspects of Agrippina, or they simply don't share their opinion. Emma Southern, a modern historian, says, "Agrippina the Younger made unique and extraordinary inroads into the spaces of Roman political and social power." And on the front cover of her book it says, "A biography of the most extraordinary woman in the Roman world," which clearly describes Agrippina positively. Another modern historian, Vedran Valletta, writes very positively about Agrippina, saying, Agrippina the Younger was the first woman to transcend the role of emperor's wife. She was a true Roman empress, honored with the title of Augusta in 50 AD. She wielded real political power and ruled as equal to her husband, Emperor Claudius. One of the biggest reasons for the change in interpretation over time would be to do with the feminist movement in the 19th century. Women gained political rights and power, and from that, Agrippina is looked at as one of the same type of women who tried making this movement and was successful for herself. Therefore, the representation of Agrippina has changed significantly from ancient to modern times.